Alright, so one of the first things I wanted to teach you guys about Driveshaft specifically, okay? You got the engine, you got your flywheel, or on the back side of the flywheel you can either have a torque converter or you can either have a clutch, depending on the transmission setup, automatic versus manual. And then all that leads down to the drive shaft, putting power to the rear end to drive the back wheels, okay? Now this drive shaft, I understand it looks like just like a tube, and it really doesn't look like any important piece of equipment on the truck. But believe it or not, this drive shaft could destroy your whole drive line, okay? Now, one of the things, that being said, one of the things I wanted to tell you guys about is drive shaft phasing, okay? You see these little weights on here. These weights are meant to be on here for a reason, as well as the weights at the front, okay? They are meant to be in a line with each other, okay? Let's just pretend that this drive shaft was a two-piece drive shaft. You want these weights right here to be in a line with these weights when you go to put them back on. If this was a two-piece drive shaft, you would have a hanger bearing hanging from the chassis, as well as in between, like we have on that Freightliner over there, as well as in between you would have what you call a slip yoke most of the time. I have hardly ever seen a drive shaft that's connected with the hanger bearing that doesn't have a slip yoke. So most of the time, I'm not saying I haven't ever, or I'm not saying that there's not any drive shaft out there that doesn't have a slip yoke at the hanger bearing, but most of the time you do have a slip yoke, okay? I'll explain to you guys what a slip yoke is later on in the video, okay? So let's just pretend this was a two-piece drive shaft, okay? You would have your slip yoke, you have your hanger bearing, okay? And guess what? You go to take this thing out. Oh shoot, I don't remember how I put it back in, okay? Well, before you take it out, let's just say you're doing any kind of drive shaft work, first thing you want to do is you want to mark it. As you can see, we made little marks right here on our drive shaft to mark right here where we put it back, okay? Basically, you want to put it back the same exact way you took it out, okay? So that way, what that does is when you go to put, let's just say these weights are right here, and this weight was on top, okay? Let's just pretend it was a two-piece drive shaft. Still pretending it was a two-piece drive shaft. So now you have a weight up here going full, at the heavier side up here, and have the shorter or the heavier side right here. So it would cause more of a vibration throughout the drivetrain system as you're traveling down the road. Now this vibration can actually tear up the bearings, it can tear up the slip yokes inside here, there's slip yokes inside here, there's a slip yoke inside here, it can tear up the bearings, it can also tear up the U-joints, okay? Now, talking about slip yokes, okay? Slip yokes, basically as the suspension changes its angles, goes up and down, and the chassis stays still, this drive shaft has this little spline yoke where it can slide in and out as the suspension changes angles. Without a slip yoke, the suspension would bind and it would break the drive shaft, either that or it would snap at the U-joints, okay? So slip yoke are very, very important to a vehicle like this, or any type of vehicle with a suspension, okay? With any kind of suspension, okay? Alright, so slip yokes are very important, okay? They need to be maintained very well, and they need to be checked for wear, blah blah blah, just regular routine maintenance. U-joints, these are non-greasable, non-serviceable U-joints, so when they go bad, they go bad. They need to be replaced, okay? So as far as driveline systems go, that's as far as much information as I can tell you guys. So with that, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys later. Guys, one of the actual first things I'm going to show you guys is angles of the driveline. So, you have your yoke right here, and then you have your drive shaft, obviously. Okay, and back there, you have your yoke for the rear end, and then you have your drive shaft, okay? Now, the angles between this angle going straight that way, and then this angle the way the drive shaft is pointed, it's called your working angle, as well as up here. The yoke for your transmission going straight that way, or straight which way ever this yoke is pointed, versus how drive shaft is pointed. That's called your working angle. Okay? Now, this working angle and then that working angle, depending on which angle is pointed up or down, which the protractor will tell us. Okay? will depend on whether we add or subtract it. If both angles are down, we subtract them, okay? If one is up and the other one is down, then we add them, or vice versa. If the other angle is down and the other angle is up, we also add them, okay? So I'm going to turn on my protractor. It's already on, and what I'm going to do is I have this little socket. What this little socket does is it creates a solid or a flat surface between the protractor and the trunnion cap right here, so that way I can get an accurate angle. What these angles do is it prevents the U-joint from binding, as well as whenever you actually angle a drive shaft too much, it actually affects how fast it spins, which therefore will just cause wear and tear throughout the driveway. Too much to be torn up to tell you guys. And I'm going to zero this out on the frame. Best place to do it is right here that I found earlier. Zero this out. Zero, okay. So we got our protractor zeroed out. Go ahead and lay the socket on there, okay. I'm going to be getting my angle of my transmission yoke. So I got 5.5 degrees going up, okay. I'm going to spin the drive shaft. Now, I have 8 degrees going up. So before I had 5.5, now I have 8. So that's the difference of somewhere around 2.5 degrees. Because both angles are going up, so therefore you would subtract them, like I said earlier. Okay? So, difference of 2.5 degrees. Okay, that's 2.5 degrees is your first working angle. Okay, now going back here. The same thing. So I have 8.3 degrees going up. Spin my drive shaft.
Stomach's fucked up. Shouldn't eat those buffalo chicken slices.
Same thing for the drive shaft yoke. So I had 8.3 degrees going up, and now I have 4 degrees up. Okay, so therefore that would be another subtraction situation. So 8.3 minus 4, so that's about a 4.3, and we had 2.5 up there. So here's the deal. These different U-joints are supposed to, their spec is 1 degree or less within each other. Okay, if they, like for example, if, let's just say the front one was at 3 degrees, the first working angle was at 3, this one was at 2. That's good within spec. But in this case, that one is 2.5, and this one we found was 4.3 degrees. That's the difference of, let's just say 2.5 minus 4.3, 0.3, 0.5, that's 0.8 plus 1, that's 1.8 degrees difference. Okay, both angles going up. Okay, so therefore, angle's not within spec, this needs to be adjusted. Okay, so with that, guys, that's drive shaft angles, and this is very important. Causes binding throughout your driveline system, and this can majorly damage it. One of the things is if this drive shaft is binding too much, it can actually affect the torque converter or the clutch and wearing out prematurely through the torque converter and the clutch, okay, and as well as the transmission, and it causes very expensive repairs throughout the truck. Okay, so with that, on to the second part of the video.